an underlying subplot with Mike Whitmarsh and Brian Lewis that is being carried out here today.
The soap opera continues, Billy. You had Brian Lewis and David Swatik making a year-long commitment. Louis dropping Swatik for Whitmarsh, and then Whitmarsh turned around and dropped Lewis to play with Swatik.
Feelings are hurt, and now they're getting to play each other in a final. And the first big hit goes to Whitmarsh and Swatik. And it'll be David Swatik. What a week he had 2 weeks ago in Hermosa Beach. The time of his life with all of his supporters, friends, his posse with him. His first ever win on the tour. Whitty, good dig by Brian Lewis. Louis up, can't get that one, and we're gonna get a point on the board for Swatik and Whitmarsh.
And David Swatik starts it off with a big jump serve, getting Lewis and Ceman in trouble. And really, from all the partners swapping and this and that, David Swatik was really the one player that come kind of unscathed out of all of that. He stayed loyal to his partners, and he just continues to play great volleyball.
Ceman, Louis, and we're going to get a net. Into the net, Mike Whitmarsh. And it'll be a side out now to Canyon Ceman, who has won here before, and Brian Lewis. There's Whitmarsh, former partner of Mike Dodd, of course, when they won a medal at the Olympics. And there's Canyon Ceman, Stanford University, and really having a gutsy tournament. Whitmarsh with authority straight down. And right there, you're going to see quite a bit of Ceman and Lewis backing off with no block up.
Well, they're going to try to drop off the net, especially on Mike Whitmarsh, who doesn't have the same kind of arm as an Adam Johnson or a quick arm swing. They're going to try to drop off and dig Whitmarsh.
That's a touch, and we'll get a side out. It has been an unbelievable road here for Lewis and Ceman. They have had three-game matches in the single elimination tournament, and marathon matches at that against great competition.
Yes, all three matches were well over 2 hours. And this is kind of old school right now for Brian Lewis and Canyon Ceman. They've played a lot of volleyball this weekend. They've been on the court, it seems like, forever.
Just about a half hour or so ago, they defeated Karch Kirai and Adam Johnson in an absolute thriller. Both teams had numerous chances to win it. And finally, Lewis prevailed. You'll see some of that match later on in our telecast, and you're not going to want to miss it. It was a spectacular finish. We're going to 15, have to win by 2, 9-minute running clock. Here in Belmar, 4th Avenue Beach. Great, knowledgeable, and enthusiastic crowd on the shore, and the lefty, David Swatik, knocks it down. And he matured greatly as a volleyball player in Hermosa 2 weeks ago.
Most definitely. And talking to Mike Whitmarsh, that's the part of Swatik's game that he loves, his siding out, his ability to go up and take that set that's a little bit off the net and just rip it.
Ceman, big block. Mike Whitmarsh, maybe the best block on the beach.
I tell you, he's been blocking real well. On the FIVB Tour, another American, Rob Heiger, has been getting real big, but still, Whitmarsh, week in and week out, I still think he throws up the scariest, most intimidating block. He can get into players' heads and really cause them, not so much that he's roofing them straight down, but they're hitting out or hitting easy shots to the opponent, and that's as good as a stuff block.
I got it, you take it. Ace for Louis, Corona del Mar's finest, Brian Lewis. And the ace cards come out. You'll see those, appropriately enough, when somebody drops one in.
And Billy, what Brian and Canyon have been doing so well all weekend is jump serving from the bad side, and that's just a huge jump serve for Brian Lewis.
We're going to take a break. It's 1-1. Just get things going here in Belmar, New Jersey. Coast to coast. We've got it for you on Fox Sports Net. The AVP are back, and families enjoying themselves here at Belmar. 1-1. Louis about to serve. Don't forget, though, our next stop, Chicago, over the 4th of July weekend, and you can see it coast to coast on Fox Sports Net. It's going to be great to be in the Windy City.
Get up, come on!
Swati's got to move. Opportunity over on 2.
Off the block, good for the point. Tough serve by Brian Lewis.
You will see Canyon Ceman also be very opportunistic. When it arises, he doesn't hesitate to pump it over on 2.
And Brian Lewis, again, getting Whitmarsh and Swatik in big trouble with his jump serve. And he's jump serving from the bad side right now. If you're Whitmarsh and Swatik, you got to start worrying about when they get over to the good side.
Wind continues to blow to the back of Brian Lewis. Louis Trying to get this crowd fired up. Whitty up and over, and Brian Lewis can't get there. Nice touch by the big fella, Mike Whitmarsh. This crowd, by the way, huge and also evenly divided in their support between these two teams, which should make it exciting. There's the venue here in Belmar. Love coming back east. That's a good serve. Swatik. He can deal it.
And David Swatik has been serving maybe the best jump serve on tour for the last month. He's been just ripping the ball. 3 or 4 weeks ago in Dallas, he carried Mike Whitmarsh to 11 aces in one match. He's really serving well and with a lot of confidence.
If Swatik can get half a dozen aces and Whitmarsh half a dozen blocks, they could probably or should probably win this thing. That's off of Whitmarsh. Good play by Brian Lewis. Lewis, not a big guy, 6 feet, but plays so much taller. I love that gray hair coming in, looking like Bob Baffert almost. The silver fox.
A very premature gray.
Shining in.
Louis would note. And Mike Whitmarsh looking very solid in his side-out game. If they're going to try to block him, he's just going to go hide, rip the ball deep middle. And for Lewis and Ceman, I think you're going to see them trying to drop a lot on Whitmarsh and try to make him put it away and use their defensive skills.
But he tries to dump it right in front of Canyon Ceman, and there's that block. Hello! You're not going anywhere.
Very nice strategy for Mike Whitmarsh on that. Serving Canyon Ceman short. When you serve the guy short, you take away his approach. Canyon unable to explode, and Whitmarsh just roofing that ball straight down.
The big monster puts up the big wall. Take a break. 3-2 as we take the turn. Whitmarsh and Swatik over Ceman and Lewis. We are back as the fun continues on Fox Sports Net after this. Crowd was going absolutely bananas in that semifinal, and they're still pumped up here for our final match.
And Louis and Ceman are going to need every ounce of emotion this crowd can give them. I know their tanks are on empty. They're going to have to just go on guts.
Whit and Swat, how they feeling?
They're feeling fine. They had a 3-game match in their semi, but they're a lot fresher than Canyon and Louis that have been battling 3-game matches all tournament long.
All right, our semifinal was unbelievable, but right now let's get back to our championship, who will be crowned king here in Belmar. Score 3-2, Whitty and Swati. And Whitmarsh trying to do his job, making it back-to-back wins on the AVP Tour. Formerly drafted by the Timberwolves of the NBA, made his way to the sand. Quite a talented athlete, as are all of our players in the final. Whitty now on a bad side, set to serve. Low set. Talk about the setting of Brian Lewis and Canyon Ceman. They are both impeccable with their hands.
And that's, I think, what made them so strong this weekend. They're siding out so well because they're giving each other perfect sets. And as a smaller team, a team that's not going to put up the intimidating block, they've got to really side out and concentrate on their jump serving to score points for themselves.
Bombs away for Louis. Good pass. Whitmarsh. Good angle that time. Just too much for Lewis, who was dug in a little bit. And it'll be a side out for Swati, as they call him, David Swatik. Whitmarsh, the imposing figure at the net. 3-2. Canyon Ceman battled through health problems throughout a good portion of his career. And one of the more intellectual minds on the sand. Not to discount any of the other cerebral participants. Great serve again. Second time it's been right down the gut. And Canyon Ceman registers the ACE.
So if you're Mike Whitmarsh and David Swatik right now, you got to take a little half step toward each other and really try to avoid what happened right there, and that's just no commitment on the ball in the middle.
Time to reintroduce yourself. Right out, Whitty. And not even an effort that time by Canyon Ceman. Guessing one way, Louis taking it away, and right up and over. Nice touch.
A real key to the match that I don't think we touched on in the opening is that Whitmarsh and Swatik, how they control these jump serves that are just being blasted at them. That's going to have a real effect on this match. If they can control, keep their passes and their sets low, they're going to just give themselves that much better of a chance to win this match. Passing is key.
Always talk about the ball control, and Canyon Ceman with a perfect pass. Little tight that time from Louis, but he got away with it as Ceman hit off the block of Mike Whitmarsh.
And you've seen the other side of the coin. Whitmarsh and Swatik, how they pass the jump serve. For Ceman and Lewis, it's how they deal with Whitmarsh's block.
Brian Lewis was joking between matches. He says, I'm glad we're playing all these 3-game matches. I'm getting some practice in. I haven't had a chance. Swatik, after an unbelievable set from Whitmarsh, and then Louis had to hesitate as it hit tape.
Over his shoulder.
Louis getting it started again with a great jump serve. And then you're going to see Mike Whitmarsh from off the court, 35 feet away, giving Swatik an absolute perfect set on the net, and David just cuffing it down. They know they stole a side out on that one, Billy.
3-all. On the good side. Block. Out. What was it in? Did that go in?
That was down for a point.
Absolutely, went right down.
And Billy, you notice David Swatik, an exclusive jump server. I think the relationship, the partnership, Whitmarsh starting to talk to Swatik, saying, you know, when you're on the bad side, why don't we use my blocking your defense a little more? Now you see Swatik floating the serve and Whitmarsh going up and getting the block for the point from the bad side.
It is a true teacher-student situation with Whitmarsh and Swatik. Not to underestimate Swatik's inherent talent and the time that he spent on the beach, but it was funny watching him towards the end of that match in Hermosa, following Whitmarsh around like a little puppy dog during clutch time.
And it's so funny to talk to Whitmarsh. He just says, well, this is a very strange feeling for me having the shoe on the other foot, because obviously I was telling him what to do all the time when we played together.
They back off again. Great dig. Wonderful stuff from Ceman, and Swatik says, what else? Back down! Oh my, a big bomb! David Swatik! Good stuff, both teams defensively.
Ceman and Lewis doing what they need to do, drop off and dig Whitmarsh, but David Swatik coming up with a big dig of his own, and he can finish.
Excellent point. Finishing in any sport. Get the opportunity, pound it home, get your side out, get your point. Let's move on. 1, 2, 3, as easy as that. Canyon Ceman puts it away. Ceman has won 3 times on tour. Lewis has won 5. And Brian Lewis has played with just about everybody who's ever strapped on a pair of bathing suits. He has absolutely played with everybody imaginable on tour.
Come on, you got it. Hey, Louis!
Louis can only watch and hope.
That's an error in judgment for Canyon Ceman. He saw him in trouble. You got to get yourself off the net on that play. Brian Lewis just kind of stuck there, not knowing which way to go, and Whitmarsh and Swatik with a lucky side out.
George Louis. Cut! Up again!
Touch. You don't need the power. You need the placement.
Brian Lewis, the off-speed shot.
And that was the battle of the two that haven't talked. Whitmarsh and Lewis passing each other in the food tent, in the players' tent, giving each other a wistful glance from time to time. No conversation. Swatik. Louis' turn. I don't know if that ever really went, but Louis was right there.
And again, Brian Lewis continues to impress with his blocking ability. Not the highest block, but he takes a solid area of the net, and if you drop your arm or ease up just a little bit, he's going to roof you.
Lewis and Ceman running all over the court. One place where they weren't is where the ball landed. Good play by David Swatik. Now Whitmarsh. A little lollipop with the wind. Lewis sets, gets out of the way. Brilliant cut. The artistry of Canyon Ceman.
Canyon Ceman with the angle shot.
Whitmarsh and Swatik have served a couple balls to Brian Lewis, but it really looks like they're going to keep the ball on Canyon Ceman and make him deal with that block and see how he does.
There was a moment in the semifinal where Canyon stubbed his toe and for 2 or 3 points was hobbling quite noticeably, but it did not seem to affect him late in the match, obviously, and not early on in this one. Pushing that set. Swatik. Ceman. No. Swatik. Huge.
Waiting on his horse.
David Swatik not getting a lot of blocking practice since he's hooked up with Whitmarsh, but that time a point-saving side-out block. David's just going to reach straight over, and that's a tough break for Brian Lewis and Canyon Ceman. Not so smooth on an easy point opportunity.
How long did it take David Swatik to come down from that great victory in front of the home folks?
Shoot. I don't know if he's
still
down
there.
yet.
Probably isn't. You grew up, know everybody around the South Bay, and to win it in Hermosa, that was something special for him, wasn't it?
I think on top of that was just the road that it took to get there.
Whitmarsh was in great position, thought he should have had it.
Yeah, you see him saying get over the net, and he knows that if he's going to be roofing those balls straight down, he's got to penetrate the top of the net and reach over before the hit happens, not after the hit happens.
Hope to see you in Chicago next week. Michigan in 2 weeks. Very much looking forward to that.
Tell you, Billy, it's been a long, hot weekend, and you can sense a little lull, I think, in all four players right now. They're just trying to suck it up and look for some second wind.
That went right to Swatik. Oh, great dig by Ceman. He went deep for that one. Whitty with the one-arm job. Can he pound it? Yes!
How about it, Jumanji?
Well, Mike Whitmarsh says, Swati, if you're going to go up and block, I'll step back and show you a little defense there. And he got the one-arm bandit, putting it down for a big point, and hopefully something that's going to get the crowd fired up and get the players back at it.
That's got to get him juiced a little bit. A couple of great defensive plays, and Canyon Ceman was down near the sand to dig that one up.
You know, another interesting side story about all this partnerships is that Canyon Ceman and David Swatik grew up together in Manhattan Beach. They played almost exclusively on the beach together all through high school. Another nice float serve for Mike Whitmarsh, dropping on the back line.
Ace. 6-4 is our score. And with a 2-point lead, Whitmarsh and Swatik will go to the good side. Belmar, more. There he goes. And if you're talking about dancing, moving, shaking, nobody's better than Marvin Hall. Well, there's Tim Hovland, and he is down with Canyon Ceman.
Canyon, how you feeling? It's been a long, hot weekend. I'm feeling pretty damn good considering the conditions. And if we win this, it's going to be a serving and all heart. That's all it is. You have enough to make it? I definitely have enough to make it. Go get him, Canyon. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Hov. That's a transition from Marvin to Hov. You see that just about every night on the road.
From Marvin to Hov to Canyon and back.
That's a long road. And part of the sights that we get to enjoy throughout our tour of America. Open up, Belmar. Again, we invite you to come out and say hi to the Hov and to MD, two of the greatest that have ever played this game, working on our crew on Foxnet when we come your way, Chicago, Muskegon, and everywhere else. And all the best players in the world, pro, beach, volleyball.
Are you ready for your spanking?
You know the thing we don't mention about Marvin, not only is he a good official and referee, he has done so much for the sport of volleyball, youth and professionally, for so many years.
You go out with Marvin, and I tell you, more volleyball fans know Marvin than I think half of the tour right now, and he is just quite an asset to the AVP end of volleyball.
6-4 is our score. Whitmarsh, Swatik over Ceman and Lewis, our championship final. Canyon Ceman didn't quite get up that time, and David Swatik says, I'll take your hat off with you.
And Billy, if you're Ceman and Lewis right now, you got to be real careful because you're on the bad side. And I think this is a real critical moment in this match, because if Ceman and Lewis give up a bunch of points right now, this match is almost over. They're going to really have to gut it out right now and try to score some points on the bad side, because they can't afford to go down 10-5, 11-4.
The strange and interesting fact about Lewis and Ceman, they seemed down and out in a couple of their earlier matches, listless, and then all of a sudden they caught fire. Happened in the Fenoy-Moana Blanton match a little bit, and certainly in the Karai and Johnson match. They lost the first of the 3 games. It looked like they were down and out of
Well, you look at their attributes, and that's what really can get them going in a match is their jump serve. They can seam down, but they're the kind of team that can just rip off 3 or 4 points in a row with their jump serves.
Whitmarsh with 8 kills, Ceman with 9 to lead their respective duos. Omar's up here with us, one of the local legends, helping us out statistically. He's been looking forward to this weekend for a long time, and it's finally here.
Louis.
Fatigue, gotta be on Lewis. Most of the time, a fresh Brian Lewis has that pass.
Billy Mack, that's a nice jump serve, but a very tired looking pass. No footwork at all on this. And like I said, I think Lewis and Swatik, or Lewis and Ceman are in some trouble right now. They're going to take a timeout and really try to regroup.
It's almost like you were tipping over a chair when Brian Lewis was down trying to pass that ball. And of course, Youth is still served on the sand with the sun-kissed Youth Tour. To the Mac MD and the Hav and our great crew in New Jersey, the AVP Sun-Kissed Open Finals. Swatik and Whitmarsh, and down goes Canyon Ceman, and he's hurting now too.
And Billy Mack, it looks like he stubbed that toe again, the very same big toe. And for anyone that's played a lot of beach volleyball, it's one of the most aggravating injuries because your big toe buckles underneath your foot as you push forward. Tim Hovland used to get it so bad, he actually invented his own Hov toe. He went to Body Glove, and they made a neoprene sleeve that would pull his toe up so that he would avoid just this canyon going forward. His big toe buckles underneath his foot, and that is very painful. Almost as painful as giving up point number 9.
A reoccurrence of an injury that took place in the semifinal, and Swatik serving it down the middle, and now Ceman and Louis are in a lot of trouble. Louis going to have to work doubly hard. 9-4, they're down.
Yeah, there to me is another little mental mistake for David Swatik. You got Canyon Ceman just buckling with his toe going underneath him. You get that serve to him. You're on the good side, and I know you want to rip a good jump serve, but that's just letting him off the hook.
We saw Karch do the exact same thing when Ceman went down in the semi. He went back to Lewis. Surprisingly enough, Canyon Ceman is really hurting. He can barely move. Big hit, and it's 1 against 2 right now.
And I'm telling you, Billy, what's also surprising is that Canyon Ceman and Brian Lewis are not using a medical timeout. They can get 5 minutes out there right now for his toe, and they're just kind of letting Canyon hobble around out there. I don't know if they're afraid that it might get cold and stiffen up on him, but
Lewis over on 2, smart thing.
Just being Louis.
That's going to be something if you're Whitmarsh and Swatik to be ready for. You know Lewis is going to start shooting it around, setting it over his head, trying to help out his partner and get him back into it.
Yeah, anything goes now when you're Lewis and Ceman. And that throws you mentally off your game a little bit for Swatik and Whitmarsh. It's not just pass, set, hit anymore.
Exactly. Karch said it a couple of weeks ago in Dallas when they defeated Fenoy-Moana and Blanton, and Dane Blanton was having some cramps. Sometimes the toughest thing to do is play against a player that's injured, because you got to fight letting up mentally yourself, and the team, the injured team, they just get loose as a goose and start playing really well.
Swatik misses, and that's a mental error. Just get it in. They still haven't really tested Canyon Ceman with a serve since he went down with the toe. 9-4, clock not an issue, just under 5 minutes. Ceman misses that one on the bad side. Serving time now for Whitmarsh and Swatik, trying to make it 2 in a row on the AVP Tour.
And Mike Whitmarsh did serve Canyon Ceman short the last time, and you can bet he's talking to David Swatik saying, watch it on 2.
Good set, good cut. Swatik was ready. Wonderful defense. Just as good of a defensive play by Ceman. Whitmarsh again, no chance that time. Cannonball.
And you can see Mike Whitmarsh with a little hop after the spike. He's feeling it. They're fresh. They've got everything going for themselves right now. The big question is keep the pressure on. When you've got a team down, you got to keep pushing. Especially with the jump serves of Lewis and Swatik, you don't want to let them get something going.
Sweet spank at the end of that rally. Ceman up and over.
Canyon.
So persevering. The gutsy Canyon Ceman. And he's moving a little better right now as we watch it very closely.
Brian Lewis back to serve. He's been hitting great jump serves with the wind at his back all weekend. He could really use a good one right now to help get his team back into it.
We mentioned during our coverage of the semifinal, not sure whether or not you heard it, but Brian Lewis and his lovely wife, proud parents of a baby boy Dylan a couple of weeks ago, 15 days old in fact today. We congratulate them.
We got a bevy of missed serves here by both teams, and for Brian Lewis, you know, he was injured, and you're having all these partnership split ups and this and that, and you have a little baby, Billy, and you know, kind of puts everything into perspective. It's really not that big of a deal.
Ask Phil Mickelson. He was ready to leave. Great dig, Canyon Ceman. Oh, and Whitmarsh spoils all the fun.
There you see a fired up Mike Whitmarsh making big blocks to save the point. Ceman with a great dig, Lewis perfect set, and Whitty just getting big up and over, and not much you can do about that.
Huge. Mike Whitmarsh says, if you're hurt, I'll exploit it. The battle again. No touch. Out it goes. That's another point. 11-4. And Whitmarsh and Swatik are on their way to making it 2 in a row.
Ladies and gentlemen of Belmar.
Ken Lewis and Ceman
You've been looking for it all weekend.
pack another comeback. We'll see in a minute.
But we always do.
A commanding 11-4 lead here at Belmar, the sun-kissed AVP Open.
And Billy, you heard Mike Whitmarsh before the break. We're going a lot, and we're going right to Canyon Ceman.
A fatigued and ailing Canyon Ceman, taking the nice set though from his partner Brian Lewis. Canyon hanging in.
Again, this is the tough part in the match for Whitmarsh and Swatik. They've got to be careful. You've got an explosive Brian Lewis with a nice stiff breeze in his face. He could reel off a bunch of points and get his team right back into it.
Time to bomb if you're Louis. Good pass by David Swatik. Pushed up. Louis! Oh! That one drove a divot.
And it all is set up with Brian Lewis. Great deep jump serve to David Swatik. Swatik just kind of cuffing it to Louis, and then Louis just bombing down the line.
Louis with one of those heavy balls that he hits. Great swing. Packs a lot of power. Like a pitcher with a slow, nice, easy delivery, and all of a sudden, it's by you. Swatik, that was everything in the bag, and Lewis brought it right back. Lewis again, unbelievable, but it's out.
How about a little something?
This crowd was ready to explode. They still love it. Listen to him.
Brian Lewis with an unbelievable first dig, then coming up with a little ping pong between he and Canyon, unable to keep the ball in play.
Here we go. Line. Come on.
Swati with the one arm. Good joust win that time by Canyon Ceman. Unexpectedly.
I would love to remind everybody this is a
They could even surprise Whitmarsh a bit.
no smoking.
And everything seems to compound. You squander point opportunities. Ceman, Lewis get a little bit looser, start serving up some aces, and this match could turn around.
Swatik working hard. Driven ball, obviously. Whitmarsh doesn't like it. Came out pretty clean. Your call, MD.
Whitmarsh giving him the obligatory stare at the referee. It was just kind of a funky play. Canyon Ceman with some of the best hands on the beach. Ball came out pretty quick and came out pretty clean. When the ball hits the top of the net like that, Billy, you've got to play that ball cleanly because it's not really considered a driven ball anymore. And so pretty nifty little play defensively by Canyon Ceman.
It really did come off nice and clean, not much spin. We all should be able to set like that.
Wouldn't that be a wonderful world?
Hobb, only once. Only once I wanted to see Hobb
could
use
set
his
like
hands,
that.
right.
Wouldn't that be a wonderful world?
He's giving us the glare.
Middle.
He did well with that little bump of his. Enough to win a boatload of tournaments and a lot of cash. 11-6. Whitmarsh and Swatik over Ceman and Lewis. Kirai made it all the way to the semifinals before losing a thrilling semi. And he will have to wait another week to try to surpass Injun Smith. They're both tied in the all-time victory mark. Swatik. That's just nails.
Bit of a bad break there for Brian Lewis. He dug that ball straight up, but it got above the bleachers and the wind just carried it right out of bounds, and there's Canyon. Tato's taking a beating this weekend. I think he just ran into the banner over there courtside.
One thing that these players don't have, but you certainly better not have any of it, is fear when that ball is driving at you, because it is moving.
Whitmarsh.
Yes, sirree.
1996 silver medalist.
12-6. They've doubled up. 4 for Whitmarsh, and he tries to get to that magic 5. He's 1 away from his goal.
And Canyon doing really good job of mixing it up, and then all of a sudden decides to go to the heater, and Whitmarsh is there with the rejection.
Swatik's added 5 digs to the equation. Lewis himself, 5 digs, scrambling around defensively behind Canyon Ceman, who also has a handful of defensive plays. Back with more in a moment.
Thank you very much. Just opening Belmar.
1985 was our first tournament here on the Jersey Shore in Wildwood. The winners, John Hanley and John Stevenson.
The runners-up, Kirai and Mr. Mike Dodd.
I was trying not to mention that, Billy.
I was mentioning it very, very. Did you ever win here? You never won here, did you?
Never. Ton of seconds.
One of the only sites that we've been coming to for a long time that you did not take a championship. Of course, that was something you didn't want to bring up either. Did Hobb get a win here?
I think he
did not. Sticking point. Pushed out. Good play by Whitmarsh.
Whitmarsh and Swatik, excuse me, Billy, they just look so smooth that it seems like the way that Mike Whitmarsh bumps his sets up, David Swatik just seems to enjoy it. And they're setting each other to such precise spots that they're really, really doing well in the side-out game, which is key for them.
Go!
Good hustle by Swatik. It's funny, we make fun of Hobb sometimes about never setting with his hands or some other players, and then, you know, you give the accolades to Lewis and Ceman for having such great hands, but the fine art of the bump set is not an easy thing to do, putting it time and time and time again right in the right spot, the right height.
And Tim Hovland, very much like Mike Whitmarsh, unbelievable bump setter in transitions. When his partners would get digs, he would track it down and give great bump sets in transition.
And speaking of the greatest bump setter of all time, what about that, huh?
We're sitting down here in the VIP room with Terry right here. She's been at last 3 years?
That's correct. Yeah.
You're loving the AVP?
I love it. It's just so much fun. The athleticism of these guys is incredible. Really is.
Belmar Beach knows it's volleyball, and Brian Lewis needs a few more aces to come back. Back to you guys.
I just called him the greatest bump setter of all time, and he didn't even make mention of it. He's busy, you can tell.
Back to the action. Canyon Ceman just chopping that ball cross court. As long as he's taking a little heat off it and moving it around, he's going to be fine. It's just when he starts to try to deliver the heat is when Whitmarsh is getting up and roofing it.
Down by half a dozen. They've been doubled up by Swatik and Whitmarsh. David Swatik, great dig. Canyon Ceman, Lewis on 2, missed it. I think Canyon took that partially off his chest.
Then you see Brian Lewis after the play kind of shaking his leg. Nice dig by Ceman. Lewis tries to knuckle it over on 2, just out of bounds. Now maybe Brian Lewis getting a couple twinges in his legs. It's been a long, hot, tough weekend for Ceman and Lewis.
And not just today. Obviously, action played here yesterday when it was really roasting. Block, there's number 5.
Big Mike Whitmarsh.
Number 5 for Whitmarsh.
Now 13-6.
So that appropriate goal has been reached, and they're just 2 points away from the title.
This time Mike Whitmarsh is going to reach over into the line, press over, and that's how you block.
Outside.
Off the net, chance to get the championship point if Swatik can put it away.
Middle.
Right to Ceman. Whitmarsh up and over and down.
We're taking a turn. We got match point.
That pretty much says it all right there, Billy. A spent Canyon Ceman. Just a tough final here for these guys. We were talking from the start whether or not they were going to have enough gas in their tank.
Whitmarsh is a wall, and Ceman and Lewis have hit the wall.
There you see a very tired Canyon Ceman, and Whitmarsh just waiting in the wings.
And the championship is just moments away, perhaps. Take a break. When we come back, they'll be serving for the match.
Hey, guess what?
What do you have to do?
Play some volleyball.
What's up your sleeve?
Serve well and side out. It's simple.
Down 6-14, you got some left?
We've had a long, grueling weekend. Every one of our matches has been 2+ hours, and these guys have had a pretty easy road, so they're pretty much wiping us out. But we'd like to come back and show that we can play.
Go get them, Louis. Back to you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thanks off. Wiping them out.
Miller Distributing
Well,
and Mr.
Louis a man, and he said it like a man, you know. And we've had
Give it up for the
they
man.
certainly have no reason to hold their heads down. Just unbelievable comebacks all weekend long, and this was just not meant to be.
It's William Duncan.
And how would you like to be David Swatik? Here you wait all these years to get a title, and you're about to get your second in 2 weeks. Easy, huh? Championship point, no touch,
Ladies and gentlemen, that
and
is
it's
our
over.
match.
There it is.
Swati and Whitty.
Your champions, Mike Whitmarsh,
They
and
are
again,
hot and on
David
fire.
Swatik.
Canyon and Louis, awesome showing, gentlemen. First time
There you
together.
saw a little
You
handshake.
guys were awesome.
Brian
Taking
Lewis
second.
with Mike Whitmarsh under the net. I think that's the first contact they've had in a while.
The olive branch, perhaps.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. They're both great guys,
Ladies and gentlemen,
and
right now, I need your
you know, there's
attention.
always going to be some hurt feelings in partnerships, split-ups, and whatever. But everyone's got to move on and keep playing.
For the AVP